5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You're listening to the New World podcast, Loreseekers to Aeternum, a show dedicated to Amazon Game Studios' MMO, bringing you both an original story of a traveler and his creation of a company in Aeternum. Join us on this journey of suspense, intrigue, and mystery, seeking lore, life, and the pursuit of all who threaten it. Welcome to Aeternum.
The chill of the water lapping against my cheek isn't what stirred me awake. It was the saltiness of the water in my mouth. As comical as it may seem, I'd never really liked the taste of oversalted foods, so you could say it was my taste buds that saved me from a shallow water drowning on that beach. I must have taken an impactful blow to the head when our ship broke apart. It took me a few moments to get my bearings once I got to my feet, but honestly, I had no reference point to this strange place. So what did bearings really matter anyway? We had certainly reached the island. That much was clear. Or at least I had. The shore was scattered with bodies. I saw no one else alive. The next few days of my existence were undoubtedly the strangest and most terrifying of my life. I'd been forcefully introduced to some of the most unexplainable phenomena I could have ever imagined. Strange creatures, floating structures in the sky, unusual statues. I fear this place is evil, cursed. People with a strange red glow, in battle dress from times past. They lurk here. They're everywhere. Perhaps I should say, former people. It's as if the life has been sucked out of their bodies, leaving a withered husk of a person. But they're fierce. If they catch a mere glimpse of me, they attack with murderous intent. I've narrowly escaped with my life on several occasions, likely due to my ability to remain unseen. I suppose my intelligence work for London's underground crime world was no longer a part of my life to regret. Perhaps it prepared me for this. Whatever this may turn out to be. I should have never been on that damn ship in the first place. But who am I to question God's plans? I move from location to location in this place. I gather what I can to survive. This place, there's some matter of magical force here. I can't even believe I'm saying those words. It's not natural, but it's real. I can feel it in my chest, in my very bones. It's in everything. My brushes with death. There have been many in the last few days. It's been difficult to say the least. Till I found this stick next to a locked chest, full of rations and scattered notes from other people trying to survive this place. This stick. It was crafted by someone talented in woodworking, that's for sure. It was as tall as I, and it glows with an iridescent blue. It's nothing like I'd ever seen in my life. I was hesitant to even pick it up, but it was drawn to me, and I to it. Something unexplainable. As I grasped it in my hands and held it in front of me to examine, it thrummed with a power so intense it resonated through my chest. That was a moment of true realization. I knew there was something supernatural about this place. I watched as wounds upon my person from the many skirmishes over the past several days healed. The pounding headache I hadn't been able to shake, it was gone in an instant. My hand, numb from its restorative energy, my body trembling in fright. I was overwhelmed with a feeling of rejuvenation as the power subsided. I felt free. I felt alive. Witnessing this miracle, I knew this valuable survival tool would remain at my side. But it wasn't until several days later that I would learn of its true potential. The forest was peaceful as I foraged for nuts and berries. A peace you might imagine as quiet, but the forest here is quite the opposite. The sounds of the wind penetrating the canopy of trees, the bugle of the elk, the call of many different bird species. It's loud, yet mesmerizing and beautiful. I could explore for hours, foraging and hunting for my very survival, new discoveries made each day. But today, the tranquil sounds of nature were invaded by something different. The thunderous sounds of a great grizzly bear echoed through the trees. Breaking branches, thuds upon soft ground, and the grunts of combat could be heard just over the rise. I had experienced the pure fury of Aeternum's massive bears for myself in the past days. By the grace of God, I was able to evade them. I did not want to meet this one face to face either, so I slipped into the canopy and moved quietly through the sea of trees to get a better look from the cover of the shadows. That's when I saw them. 2 men, both formidable in size, in the throes of combat with a hulking, furious beast. Both men were bearded, heavily armored. One swung a great warhammer from behind the colossal foe. The other held a sword and shield and attacked from its front. Imposing growls preceded swipes from enormous claws, while echoed grunts could be heard from beneath the shield as each impact struck home. The 2 men worked in unison. One man would poke the bear with his short sword to keep his attention before bracing behind the shield, while the other swung the tremendous hammer, repeatedly striking the beast across its spine. The mighty blows were clearly turning the tide. The beast was wavering. Witnessing the melee, I darted from the safety of the tree line in hopes of lending the men a hand. The 2 men, laser-focused on the battle at hand, did not notice my advance. As I approached, the beast lost its footing under the impacts of battle. Yet somehow, he managed one final swipe of his tree-trunk-sized, razor-sharp claw as he fell to the ground. The swipe caught the shielded man on his right side, knocking him to the ground with formidable force. The grizzly fell to the earth with a crash, still demanding to regain his footing. But a final swing of the hammer-wielding warrior fell upon the bear's skull with a bone-crunching crack. The bear ceased to be. Beards matted with dried blood, they were spattered all over their person. I witnessed the grimace in the injured man's face as he reached for his helm and then out in front of his face. It was wet with fresh blood. He was wounded, and badly. Rolling on the ground with blood pouring from his helmet, I was certain I startled the grizzled warrior and his companion. He stirred and tightened his grip upon his sword, glaring at me as if I were the next threat. His bearded companion, still heaving from battle, readied his warhammer and lowered his gaze to me. I stopped in my tracks, not sure of the men's intentions. Fear gripped me, and I felt a strong urge to dart back into the forest and leave this wounded man to his fate with his mortal injuries. There was no way they would catch me being that heavily armored. But I hadn't seen another actual human since the ship had wrecked, at least alive. These men had just been through hell, and it was apparent by the looks upon their faces. What fear were they feeling? Did it match my own? Knowing the wounded man's time may be short as blood gushed from his helm, I let a smile appear across my face to assuage any doubt the men had about my intentions. In that moment, and without warning, the staff in my hand thrummed to life. The length of the staff blazed in a bright blue-green radiant light. My arm and the staff extended up and outward toward the warrior involuntarily. My entire body was fused with an energy I had never experienced, a power welling up inside my very being. In that moment, and to my surprise, I yelled. As if some sort of verbal command to the outstretched staff, something I had never heard nor spoken before in my life blurted out of my mouth. It was as if I spoke in tongues.
Leave low!
When my voice finished the command, the greenish-blue power surrounding the staff and my body flashed through the air toward both of the warriors. Impacting the downed warrior with a gust of wind, the colorful energy created a ring surrounding him. The gust of the impact startled both of them, and the surprise on their faces matched my own. The mortally wounded warrior peered at the energy surrounding him, looking to his right, and then to his left, and then to his companion, and back at me. As the ring dissipated into the ground, the man stood, slowly, seemingly renewed from the energy. His eyes were wide. His attention diverted to the cranial wound under his helm. His hands reached toward his head as he removed his helmet and felt the injury. The blood was gone. The pain subsided. His spirit was renewed. He turned his attention to me and cocked his head to the side, peering deeply with thick, furrowed eyebrows. I looked up in disbelief at the staff in my still outstretched hand, and I couldn't help but smirk a little. For just a moment, the three of us stood motionless, contemplating what had just occurred. As the men stared at me intently, as if I were some sort of otherworldly creature, I decided to break the awkward silence. Kashius, Killborn. Fancy a third?